Rescue teams in Morocco are racing to find survivors in the rubble of flattened villages after a devastating earthquake struck on Friday night. Workers are still pulling people alive from the ruins, but the next 24 to 48 hours will be critical. New aerial footage into us shows the extent of the damage. The powerful 6.8 magnitude quake struck late at night on Friday, killing more than 2,000 people. Even more suffered injuries, and the aftershocks continue to pose a risk to many. Well, the quake is Morocco's most powerful on record. Its epicenter was in a remote cluster of mountains, homes to small farming villages. But the historic old city of Marrakech, about 70 kilometers to the north, also suffered extensive damage. Reporter Alex Cadet has more.
We're now in the center of Marrakech. This is really the tourist hotspot of the city, this very popular city for tourists coming in their millions every year. The mosque behind me was severely damaged, as you can see, by the earthquake. There was a 3-meter tower, of course, like every mosque above this one. That collapsed onto the ground here. That's why we have all this construction material, there's piles of rubble. The recovery effort happened very, very quickly indeed, and that's what locals are saying, is that around Marrakech, the authorities and locals are mobilizing very quickly to recover things, but the damage is still visible in a lot of places. You can see that pickup truck behind me severely damaged by that collapse and by that falling building. So the priority now for Marrakech is to rebuild, is to reconstruct, to continue business as usual. Around us at the moment, the market stalls are going, people are in the cafes sitting around, business as usual as the city rebuilds and recovers around it. Now, the situation about an hour south of here is more complicated. In the Atlas Mountains, very remote areas, very hard to get to. That is the big priority now. That's where so many of those people lost their lives, in those remote and difficult to access areas. And the focus will be very much on having the recovery efforts being sent there. That's what the Moroccan authorities are focusing on. They're also getting international help. They've asked Spain and others for help, and they are sending crews, they are sending resources, and they are sending everything that Morocco needs to rebuild. So that's the focus now. Trying to avoid more loss of life and trying to rebuild these cities as quickly as possible to return to business as usual. Alex Cadet for CBC News, Marrakech.
And as we heard there, several countries are reaching out to offer help and a helping hand. And for more on that part of the story, let's go to Dominic Velitis in London. Dominic, what details can you tell us?
Well, Natalie, there's been an outpouring of offers of support for Morocco, and it's coming from far and wide as well. And just to give you a sense of that, so let's start with Turkey, which, of course, lost tens of thousands of people in an earthquake earlier this year. It has 265 aid workers and 1,000 tents standing by. Tunisia has a team of 50 paramedics, personnel from a specialised unit, search dogs and other equipment on standby too. Taiwan is offering 120 search and rescue personnel. Search and rescue teams also on standby here in the UK and in the Netherlands. Kuwait's emir, meanwhile, has directed the government to provide all necessary relief supplies for Morocco. France, which has a significant population of people with Moroccan origin, has pledged a little over $2.1 million in aid, while French companies say they intend to contribute. For example, the telecoms firm Orange is lifting charges for its cell phone clients who call and text to Morocco. Poland, Romania and Slovakia have also announced free communications to the country for the next week. Even Algeria, which severed diplomatic ties with Morocco in 2021, has offered to open up its airspace for humanitarian aid and medical evacuations. Many other countries, Natalie, are offering help and assistance. The vast majority of it is on standby, and the reason for that is that the Moroccan government has to formally ask for assistance before international crews can head out and start working on the ground. Spain is an exception. It has now received a formal request for help, and a special military unit is now on its way to Morocco. Other than that, it looks like the Moroccan armed forces are doing much of the heavy lifting on the ground. They've been deploying their own search and rescue teams to distribute things like clean drinking water, food, tents and blankets. But as we're seeing, the option of more help, more assistance is there for Morocco if or when it decides to formally request it. Natalie.
Dominic Velitis reporting in London. Well, Albert Delatella is also following developments on this story. He's in our newsroom. Albert, what has Canada's reaction been?
Well, Natalie, the earthquake is hitting close to home for Canada's Moroccan diaspora, especially in the Montreal area. That's where the vast majority of the nearly 104,000 Moroccan Canadians live. That's according to the last census. Many still have friends and family in Morocco. CBC News spoke with one woman whose mom and siblings are still there. She says she called them immediately when she heard about the earthquake.
I panicked. I was really shocked, and I've tried to reach my family, and it was very difficult because of the connection. So it took just a few minutes, but it seems for me like it was an hour.
She says her family home is still standing, but like many people in that part of Morocco, she says her family is sleeping outside for fear of aftershocks. Montreal's mayor, Valérie Plante, she posted on social media about the disaster. She called the images out of Morocco heartbreaking. She said her thoughts are with Montrealers of Moroccan origin. Earlier, we heard from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who was speaking at the G20 summit in New Delhi. He didn't get into specifics, but he said Canada will do what it can to help.
Our thoughts are with everyone afflicted by this major earthquake in Morocco. Our hearts go out to those who've lost loved ones. Canada, of course, stands ready to provide assistance.
Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, she told CBC News Network that she has been in touch with her counterparts in Morocco and other countries to offer Canada's assistance.
I've been in contact with the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Morocco, and I've said we're ready to help. That's what friends do in times of needs. And so we are helping also the American government that is trying to assess what are the needs. And we're working with other countries, including European countries, including also the US, because we know the situation is dire.
The Canadian Red Cross and the Islamic Relief Canada organization, they've launched appeals to provide assistance to the people directly impacted by the earthquake. The aim's there to provide immediate relief and help with recovery efforts. And Toronto-based charity Global Medic has spent the weekend packing drones and water purification kits for Morocco. And I know, Natalie, you'll be speaking with the group's founder coming up.
Yes, we will have that conversation and, of course, much more on this story as it continues to develop. Thank you, Albert.
You're welcome.